I'm Mr. Lunch. This is Mrs. Lunch. And today we're going to be reviewing The Many Saints of Newark, a Soprano story.
Also known as just the Sopranos movie, because that's what I'm going to call it. Yeah. So we watched it last night.
I was super excited.
Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe we should talk about the build-up a little bit here, because you actually talked about it a lot yesterday. And here's what you need to know starting off. Longtime Soprano fan.
Love Sopranos.
Seen all the episodes.
Know a lot because my cousin is a Sopranos knowledge vault. Knows everything about it. So in turn, I know quite a bit about it.
I know very little. I know that Tony Soprano is a man in the mob. I know he was played by James Gandolfini, who, is no longer with us. So I know nothing. So we are coming at this from two very different perspectives.
Do you like The Sopranos? Do you like prequel backstories where at the end you'll pretty much know where everyone's going to be?
That's a good point.
If so, you might not like this movie. I also want to say we will be spoiling stuff. So if you don't want to learn spoilers, don't watch this until after you watch the movie.
100%. Lots of spoilers. So I think, the hope would be, right, that, they approach this movie like we're going to make a classic mafia movie on par with The Departed or The Godfather. Obviously, probably not going to be The Godfather. But, I
thought at least it would be Goodfellas.
Okay.
Goodfellas good.
Right. Just a mob movie that anybody can watch and enjoy. And I mean, I think we weren't even 5 minutes in before I was asking you questions.
Who's that?
Who is this? Why do they matter? Why is that joke funny? Why do we care about this? And there was so much explanation needed from Anthony for me to understand the context of the movie that by the end of it, I was like, this was not made for me. This was made for people who already loved that show.
Yeah. And, there is a lot of fan service in it. And there are points where I'm watching the movie, I'm like, he said Hesh. He said Hesh. She don't know who the hell Hesh is. So it means nothing to her. But to me, I'm like, oh, he said his name.
But Anthony got excited just merely at the idea of it. And, that's the thing where I feel like it was just really made for the fans.
Yeah.
Because that stuff was completely lost on me. I think that there's something that's really important to talk about here is, what the trailer implied the movie was going to be about and then what the movie was actually about.
Yeah. The trailers make it seem like it's gonna be a Tony Soprano, a young Tony Soprano movie. It's not. At all. And they really I feel like a lot of the marketing stuff for the movie was about James Gandolfini's son playing young Tony Soprano.
Exactly. And that is intriguing to me. As somebody who, again, never seen the show, right? And, not a giant James Gandolfini fan, don't know much about him really. But the idea of an actor's child portraying their character is really, it's really, I loved it when they did it on Orange is the New Black. It's just really cool.
And he did a fantastic job. And that's one thing I would say, everybody did a fantastic job of portraying younger versions of these characters that we've grown to love over, the course of, 7 or 8 years. I can't say her name. Vera
Farmiga.
Vera Farmiga. Fantastic Olivia.
I adore
Corey
her.
Stoll, fantastic junior. The guy from the first season of Umbrella Academy played a young Silvio.
He was great.
He was good. I mean, his seemed a little
caricature.
Steve Zahn. I think that's his name, right? He plays Silvio in the show from the E Street Band. He's got he's always frowning, and he has a inflection and stuff. And this guy had the same frown, the same flag, but it felt like he was like you said, a caricature.
Hamming it up a little.
Yeah. But what was his name? Billy Magnuson as a young Paulie. I love Paulie's my favorite character from the show. He was so good, and then there were a few lines where he had the inflections. I think they were sitting there, they're all with their gumas, and then I think it was Harold's character cursed, and he did up and say, hey, watch your language. There are ladies here. And the way he said that, I was like, that's fucking Paulie.
Which one is Paulie? See, I don't even
Paulie was the one he always wore the nice suits. And it had a pompadour.
Was he the one who was I just bought this and his jacket was yellow? Okay, got it. Well, we can talk about yellow in a minute.
I was so let down afterwards. I told her, I was like, I haven't been this sad about a movie in such a long time. Like, I was so looking for, and this is why I try not to get my hopes up for stuff, because, like, I don't want to be sad after I see a movie, because I love movies so much, and I like to enjoy movies, and even if it's not, like, that good of a movie, or not necessarily a bad movie or a good movie, but even if it's something you don't like, I still don't want to walk out being like, whoa, you know?
Yeah. Well, so the movie's about his uncle, who's not his uncle, but his Uncle Dickie. And that's so funny. I had an Uncle Dickie.
Yeah?
It literally just occurred to me just now.
Oh, nice. Throughout the whole movie, you didn't even think about it. I just remembered, I have an Uncle Dickie.
So it was about him and about Tony's connection to him. And I think that, like, some of what you have to infer, because the movie doesn't tell you this, but what you have to infer is that, like, watching his Uncle Dickie and his dad is what made him become the boss that he becomes later. Well, so the racial relations were very interesting to me in the show. Yeah. There's a lot, like, about this other kind of, I don't want to call it like a mob, but like a group or like a gang. Yeah,
it's Harold is, a black man who works for Dickie, who then goes off on his own. Years later, comes back and then kind of wants to take over the territory and start his own thing. I think he mentions, like, the help of, like, Frank Lucas, which was like a real mobster. You ever see that movie with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe? He plays Frank Lucas.
Is this, like, black group versus Italian group prevalent in the series?
Not really. Most of the rivalries in the show are
other Italians
of other factions of their family, like the crime family.
And so that to me feels that is a little odd to me. That feels like kind of, I mean, granted, I'm happy to see diversity, but it feels like it's just like shoehorning it in, because it's not necessarily true to, like, what the rest of the series became. And then that character goes nowhere.
Yeah, there's every storyline in this movie goes nowhere. But yeah, so during that time, you have the riots because police beat up a black cab driver, right? So you have the riots going on, and you have some tension between the races and stuff. But again, that just kind of disappears, because at one point it's just like cuts 5 years later.
Yeah.
But they don't really I think, like, they tell you in a voiceover, like, and after 5 years, like, which, by the way, is Christopher.
Oh yeah, like the voiceover.
The movie starts off with a voiceover from Christopher, dead, being like, "Yep, and there I am, dead, and Tony killed me." And then, like, throughout the movie, he just kind of pops in and out of just, like, giving you, like, 10-second pointless exposition.
It is so bizarre.
Yeah.
And
I would not have expected that at all.
The one moment of tension that I really loved is when Tony interacted with baby Christopher. And Christopher, like cried and, like, didn't want to be around him.
He's like, he doesn't want to be around me.
Super interesting, but also really again, Tony, like his Uncle Dickie, really has these moments of, like, gentleness, where he was very gentle with baby Christopher and, like, wanted to hold him. And so that only in my own imagination, again, because I've never seen The Sopranos, is it interesting to look at the juxtaposition of, like, this very sweet, gentle Tony, knowing that later he goes on to kill this man.
Yeah.
Which I imagine in a violent way.
Not really.
No, okay, never mind.
Not really.
I was wrong.
That was the one thing that really threw me off at the beginning of the movie. Like, again, if you've never seen The Sopranos, maybe you're thinking, maybe I'll watch it after this movie. And then you're like, well, I know a guy named Christopher somewhere in the show dies by Tony, and they're related or something.
That's true. I mean, I don't know at what point in the show that happens, but don't tell me, because maybe I'll watch it.
I think you should watch it. We'll watch it.
Harold, like, you get introduced to this amazing character, again, amazing actor.
Yeah, was it Leslie Odom Jr., who played Aaron Burr in Hamilton.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's so good.
And you get introduced to him, you get introduced to his character, you grow attached to his character. At the end, nowhere.
Nothing goes anywhere. Like, it's just...
One thing that we kind of kept talking about as we were watching it is, I mean, we were at about an hour in, we paused it and got snacks.
Yeah.
And I looked at the TV and I was like, oh my God, we're already an hour into this. Like, but nothing
had happened.
Has happened.
And it still felt like the introduction like,
the exposition, the first 10 minutes where you're kind of getting settled.
Yeah, it felt like that, but it was an hour long.
And I was like,
before even, James Gandolfini's son shows up.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't show up till like halfway through the movie.
And then I was like, well, how are they going to wrap this up in another hour? Because I don't feel like we're anywhere near a climax or like, you know what I mean? Like it just felt like we were nowhere near it.
Yeah.
And then again, we paused it again for a different reason, or maybe.
I think I paused it to check the time.
We paused it to check the time because we've been sitting there for another 30 minutes, and I was like, how much of this movie is left? Like, how are we going to wrap this story up? And we paused it, and it only had like 20 minutes
and
left.
Like, what?
And I was like, what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes? And that was like such a letdown, I feel like. The only other thing that I want to touch on is like this odd stylistic choice that we could never figure out the purpose of. Yeah. Which was the use of yellow.
So much yellow in this film. And I don't know if it was like Alan Taylor, the director's choice, or if it was like the art director, if it was their choice. I don't know like the thought process behind why. And it's just, but there's just yellow everywhere.
So much yellow.
So many yellow.
I mean, immediately, like the first scene,
the opening, not the opening because the opening shots in the ceremony, but the first like opening scene of being back in like the 60s. Yeah, you're just like, there's a lot of people with yellow shirts walking around this town.
Yellow, 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 and it was like bright, like bold yellow. Yeah. I mean, to the point that everything else was very desaturated, and then you would see crazy pops of yellow, and it kept happening. I mean, Polly's suit was yellow. Mm-hmm. At one point, they were like yellow traffic cones.
There's a lot of yellow. Like it really stood out in every scene that someone was wearing yellow. It's like they like isolated yellow and like really saturated it as opposed to everything else. Yeah. And I don't understand why. And you can watch movies and see color palettes and understand why. Like I brought up 500 Days of Summer. Right. A lot of blue in that movie because Summer wears blue and Summer is his world and it doesn't really change till the end when he meets Autumn. Yeah. And you start to see more reds. Yeah. And then like you were saying with Breaking Bad, like you have a whole book on like the color of Breaking Bad changing from the first episode to the last episode and why. Mm-hmm. And again, stuff makes sense like that. But...
Well, and The Sopranos, I would argue, again, as somebody who has not seen it but only seen like, like the logo and the credits and stuff like that, like has a signature color. And I would say that The Sopranos signature color is red. Mm. I don't know that red is necessarily prevalent in the filmmaking of the show, but like I would say that that's kind of the Sopranos signature color. So it was very odd to me to see yellow. It wasn't like disturbing or it didn't like turn me off, but I just kind of kept wondering why. Mm-hmm. And I still wonder that. Like I'm like, what does that mean? Like what does that represent? It has to be there for a reason. Again, Breaking Bad is a great example where like the color palette is pretty subtle. Like Walt wears a lot of green, but it doesn't strike you as a lot of green. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and in this, we were struck by yellow immediately. Yeah.
And like, even me, like, I have a film Uber. It's not like what people are wearing, but like the kind of color tone of the film is a warmer tone when, I'm going for a ride in this Uber, which is like an Uber type car. And then as the movie progresses, it starts to get like cooler feel as things start to go downhill. Mm-hmm. Again,
there's a purpose.
But it's not noticeable where you're like, oh wow, it was warmer, now it's cooler.
It just changes the temperature. It changes the tone. Yeah. This didn't set a tone or change a tone or affect our interpretation. It was just like, man, that's a lot of yellow.
Should we give it like a number review? Like a score?
I don't know. I have a hard time saying because I think, look, ultimately, to each their own. You could watch this and love it. You could say 10 out of 10. Yeah.
I'm actually curious to see what Rob says about it. Yeah. My cousin, huge Sopranos fan. I'm curious if he really liked it or if he, like, maybe kind of, like, is trying to convince himself he likes it because it's The Sopranos and he doesn't want to be, like, get a bad taste in his mouth or something. I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
And again, like, to its credit, it inspired this review. Yeah. Like, and that, as a creator, like, we are both creative people. We like to make things and create things. And if we inspired somebody else to, like, create something, we'd be pretty proud of ourselves, even if what we made was garbage. Yeah. So,
Alan Taylor, David Chase, thanks for inspiring us to crap on your movie. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to say crap on it. I didn't care for it myself. That's all.
I think the issue is too much in too short of a period of time, and I personally wish that it had been a standalone movie, like something that didn't really need the context of 10 seasons of a show, 9 whatever. That's so I don't know that I have a number for it. I won't watch it again.
Yeah, me neither. I'll stick with the series. But if you did watch it, let us know what you thought. And if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it and then let us know what you thought.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, I'm really sorry because we literally just spoiled the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
Click that subscribe button. Maybe we'll do more movie reviews.
The next movie review is going to be Into the Wild.
I've never seen it.
I am a big fan. He has never seen it. Maybe our next 2 reviews. Like, I'll pick a movie for you to watch, Into the Wild, and then you pick a movie for me to watch.
Right on. Well, I love Eddie better, so I'm excited to watch it.
I think you're gonna love it. I think you're especially gonna love the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Until next time. Maybe there won't be a next time. Peace.